Yeah, so I want to give a real brief overview of Reddit and kind of some of the design choices we made, and for those of you that are not that familiar, and then I want to show you some examples of kind of some reputation elements that our users and our community have created organically, because I think those are pretty interesting. So in general, Reddit, we are, I don't know, top 50, top 100 site in the world. We get 2.5 billion page views a month. We are open source. We've been around for 6 or 7 years, and we have about 12 employees. So really small staff. Most of the work is done by moderators and by the community itself. You know, the other important thing about Reddit is that it's really, visually, it hasn't evolved that much. You know, Reddit in 2005 looks pretty similar to Reddit today, and pretty minimal design-wise. But sort of how Reddit's used and the Reddit community has evolved quite a bit since then. Reddit really started as purely a link aggregator. No subsections, no comments, just links and voting up and down. Then they added comments. The first comment on Reddit was, "This is going to destroy Reddit." Like, the end is here. It's over. They added comments. It's all going to go to shit. But fortunately, that didn't happen. Then after comments, then we added the ability for people to create their own subreddits. So people to create their own topics or categories. After that, Reddit, then we added the ability to make self-posts. And now, half, depending on how you count it, of the links posted on Reddit are actually not links, they're text, they're posts. They're someone asking about a recipe, someone telling a story, someone making a rant about something Obama did, whatever. So half of the links out on Reddit are actually text posts. So that was kind of a evolution, and it became this sort of self-expression place. After that, with the rise of particularly a site called Imgur, which was a very simple image hosting site that was very popular that came kind of out of the Reddit community. Reddit became more of almost like a UGC site with people creating rage comics and image macros and all kinds of things. And that certainly changed the evolution. Now we're starting to see people do things kind of on top of Reddit. So you're starting to see things like University of Reddit, which is a university online class system of varying topics and quality that's built on top of the Reddit platform. There's Radio Reddit, which is a 24/7 streaming music station that's built on top of the Reddit platform. All kinds of different things like that. We also have things like Reddit Enhancement Suite, which is particularly interesting when we're talking about annotation. It's a collection of Grease Monkey scripts, basically, that people download and use as an add-on. That sort of a lot of the really hardcore Redditors use to annotate notes about other users, to get more information about different actions on the site, and it's sort of tools that are useful if you're doing a lot of Redditing. And so one of the really important design choices I think Reddit made early on is, one, the ability for people to create their own subreddits. So we have a lot of subreddits now that are extremely popular that are not traditional categories. They don't fit in a traditional taxonomy. It's sort of rhetorical frameworks or categories that we never would have thought of. There's now subreddits for every TV show, every video game, every sports team, every town, you name it. There's about 10,000 subreddits that are what we consider very active. And a ton of them, including the really popular ones, are not things any of the Reddit founders or those of us that work there would have ever thought at the beginning Reddit would be used for. So we've kind of let the community evolve it for us. The other thing we've done is, so Reddit has a karma system, which you see is this number 8 up here. And karma is basically just roughly the number of upvotes minus downvotes that links you post and comments you post receive. It's rough. We fudge it a little bit to make it a little harder for spammers, but basically it's how many people have upvoted your things minus how many people have downvoted. And some people care a lot about it and some people don't. So that's kind of a site-wide reputation system. Reddit, we don't require email address to sign up. We're totally okay with people making multiple accounts. Some people do that, make novelty accounts, sort of, for fun, for satire, for jokes. Some of them do it just to kind of hide their identity. Some of them do it, for all sorts of reasons, and that's fine. So one of the other things that's interesting that we've done is we let users edit the CSS, pretty much with only a couple, exceptions. They can basically do whatever they want. So you see little things here, like they've changed the envelope that signifies you have a new message to a basketball, and this is the NBA subreddit. So they've even changed very basic site navigation, and we think that's great. So as far as reputation, one of the interesting things they've done here is users now have their sports team, in this case basketball of choice, next to their username in that subreddit. So you can see when this person's talking about, how to anger Blazer fans that they're Washington Bullets. Well, that's interesting because Washington Bullets don't exist anymore, so that tells you even more about them, right? So you know where people are. This person's talking about, Blazer fans, they're a Lakers fan. That gives you some context, right? Other subreddits, this is an Ask Science subreddit. This is probably one of our most heavily moderated subreddits. That's the other thing, is we have very few rules on the site, especially around moderation. So you have subreddits like Ask Science that's very heavily moderated. If you post anything off topic or anything humorous on here, it'll quickly get deleted and removed. It's a very on topic, serious subreddit, and they have done some interesting things here with sort of the CSS, where you will see, let me find one. So they've identified a handful of users that they call their panel. And these are people that the moderators of Ask Science, who are volunteers, they're not employees, they're not paid in any way, have identified and sort of vouched for these users' expertise. So I don't know if you can read this, but this user here is an expert in theoretical linguistics and syntax, and the moderators have verified that independently. And so whenever they comment on a thread, you see that. Another user here is verified as as an expert in stem cell and developmental biology. So when they reply to a question, it can carry more weight especially if it's in their area of expertise. So again, that's something that moderators have done because we gave them an open framework to play in. And that, again, not something we would have ever thought of. Here's the anarchism subreddit, which before this job, I was not aware that there are a ton of different flavors of anarchism. And you will actually see that there's different colored stars next to people's names that denotes what flavor of anarchism they subscribe to. And you see, of course, some of the stars are half and half because they don't even fall into the categories of anarchism. I really know nothing about it, but it gets pretty in depth. In honor of Stack Exchange, I wanted to show you one of my favorite subreddits, which is Snack Exchange. This is a subreddit where people trade snacks. So someone may say, "Hey, I'm studying abroad somewhere in the world, and I really miss these potato chips that I could only get in Louisiana. Is there anyone out there willing to send me some of these Zapp's potato chips, and I will send you some sort of British candy bar that you can't get where you are?" And so people trade snacks with strangers all over the world and share addresses with strangers on the internet. And we have as site employees and admins, we have no involvement in this whatsoever. Occasionally we go in and try to ferret out a troll, but basically the system works because people have sort of there's in general, there's a lot of goodwill and people are pretty well behaved, but there's also some reputation systems. You'll see that some people, and I don't know how well you can see it from where you're sitting, but some people have an AK-47 next to their name. That means that they've been verified as being a successful snack exchanger in the past. So if you see someone with an AK-47 next to your name in this community, you know, like, oh, okay, they've actually sort of fulfilled a promise to exchange snacks with someone. Why an AK-47? I have no idea. But I think it's important that that's what the community came up with. And if you look in like I'm happen to be a moderator on this subreddit, although I don't do any work. But you'll see people really like eager to get that, like, please give me my AK-47. I just completed a successful snack exchange. I really need my AK. And so it has some meaning in the community that, again, it has that meaning because people were around and it came up organically. And I assume there's some story or whatever about why AK-47 that is meaningful to the community. So if we had just said as, you know, sort of site designers, well, if you complete a snack exchange, we're going to give you a candy bar next to your name because that makes, you know, obvious sense. It may not be as valued as this, you know, automatic machine gun. I don't know. This one I'm kind of showing, this is trees. This is our, you know, marijuana subreddit. And I'm kind of showing this, you know, for humor, but I think they have one of the most interesting kind of reputation or annotation systems on Reddit because it's dependent, it's on a per post basis. So people will put a number in brackets, you know, after their, in the title of their submission or in their comments, a number from 1 to 10, which denotes how high they are. So literally, you know, this guy says, I'm so fucking high, you know, he's between an 8 and a 9, that it took me 45 minutes to do this, enjoy. And this is a, you know, an image macro that should probably have taken him 45 seconds. But, you know, because of the context of how high he is, it's, you know, one understands why it took him 45 minutes. So, you know, this is pretty silly, but imagine instead of how high it is, it's how angry they are. It's, you know, instead of how high they are, it's that they just fell in love or they just moved or who knows. But you know, this is a reputation or annotation system that is dependent on that specific time and not an overall cumulative score or an overall cumulative effect. And I just find that particularly interesting, and I have no idea, you know, where that goes. But you know, again, I would advise all of you to, you know, really, you know, give users and give the community and the people that are going to be using these things the ability to play and the ability to try things and the ability to be creative, because the best ideas, you know, a lot of the things that make Reddit what it is today came from the users and not from any of us sitting in a room. You know, 99% of the good ideas on Reddit did not come from the Reddit staff.